The first time Nick realized he was in trouble, it wasn't because of Noah's sharp words or the fire in her eyes. It was the silence. The kind that pressed between them after an argument, heavy and aching, filled with everything they were too afraid to say. In that quiet, Nick understood a terrifying truth: losing Noah would hurt more than any mistake he had ever made. And the worst part was knowing that the blame, the culpa, was his too. They had started as opposites forced into the same orbit, two strong wills colliding again and again. Nick was intensity wrapped in confidence, carrying the weight of expectations, privilege, and a past full of reckless choices. Noah was strength forged through struggle, independence carved from disappointment, someone who trusted slowly because life had taught her to. From the beginning, their connection was electric and dangerous, the kind that made hearts race and walls crumble. Every look felt like a challenge, every conversation like a test of who would surrender first. They fought hard, loved harder, and neither of them knew how to do anything halfway. Their steamiest moments were never just about closeness. They were about everything unsaid spilling into touch, about tension finally breaking after days of denial. A brush of fingers in a crowded room. A shared breath that lingered too long. The way Nick's voice softened only for her, the way Noah's defenses slipped when she forgot to be careful. Those moments felt like stolen victories, brief escapes from the reality waiting to crash down on them. But passion without trust is a fragile thing, and cracks were already forming beneath the surface. The biggest challenge between them was pride. Nick had been raised to believe control meant strength, that admitting fear or doubt was weakness. Noah, on the other hand, refused to depend on anyone, especially someone who came from a world so different from hers. When misunderstandings appeared, they didn't talk. They exploded. Words turned sharp, accusations replaced honesty, and every fight pushed them a step closer to the edge. Each time they hurt each other, they promised themselves it would be the last. Each time, they came back, drawn by a connection neither could explain or escape. The past was another enemy neither of them could outrun. Nick's mistakes followed him like shadows, reminders of the men he used to be and the damage he had caused. Noah struggled with trusting that people could truly change, that promises could be kept. When secrets surfaced and old wounds reopened, it felt easier to walk away than to stay and face the pain together. There were nights when Noah cried alone, questioning whether love was worth feeling this broken. There were moments when Nick stared at his reflection, hating the parts of himself that kept hurting the person he loved most. Their breaking point came quietly, without shouting or slammed doors. It arrived in the form of exhaustion. Tired hearts. Tired apologies. Tired hope. Noah told Nick she couldn't keep fighting for something that kept tearing her apart. Nick, for once, didn't argue. He let her go, believing that loving her meant not holding her back. That separation was colder than any argument they had ever had. Life went on around them, but everything felt muted, as if color itself had faded. Time apart forced them to confront themselves. Nick learned that love was not about possession or intensity alone, but about consistency, patience, and humility. He faced his flaws without excuses, understanding that change required action, not promises whispered in the dark. Noah discovered that independence did not mean shutting people out, and that vulnerability was not weakness but courage. She missed Nick terribly, not just the passion, but the way he saw her, the way he challenged her to feel deeply even when it scared her. When they finally met again, it wasn't dramatic. No grand gestures. Just two people standing face to face, older in spirit, softer around the edges. They talked, really talked, about fear, guilt, and responsibility. Nick took ownership of his mistakes without asking for forgiveness. Noah listened without interrupting, without building walls. In that honesty, something shifted. The tension returned, but this time it was different. Calmer. Warmer. Built on understanding rather than chaos. Their reunion was not a fairy tale ending but a conscious choice. They chose to move forward slowly, to rebuild trust brick by brick. The moments between them were still intense, still charged with emotion, but now they carried respect. A kiss was no longer an escape but a promise. A touch was reassurance, not distraction. They learned that the most powerful connection came not from heat alone, but from safety, from knowing they could hurt and still choose each other. Nick and Noah's story was never about perfection. It was about accountability. About learning that love demands growth, and passion without responsibility can burn everything it touches. In facing their faults and owning their share of the blame, they discovered something stronger than desire: commitment. Their journey proved that even the most turbulent love can transform if both hearts are willing to change. In the end, their message was simple but powerful. Love is not just found in steamy moments or intense emotions. It lives in patience, in hard conversations, in choosing to stay when walking away would be easier. Nick and Noah learned that true connection begins when excuses end, and that sometimes, accepting your culpa is the first step toward a love that truly lasts.